It's Scorpio season on October 23rd. That's kind of exciting, guys. I'm a Scorpio rising. I love the spooky. If you hadn't noticed from my TikToks, I have a thing for the silver screen. Let's talk about what's in store as Libra season ends and Scorpio season begins here on the Awake Space Astrology Podcast. I'm Lori Rivers, astrologer and your host. So, in case you didn't know, I'm a Scorpio rising. I love Scorpio season. It is a time of power, raw, unadulterated power. And I can feel it. I can sense it. I can taste it. I can touch it. And when I was young, I wanted to harness it. That's why I studied all the metaphysical stuff. A lot of people get into witchy stuff and magic because they feel powerless. I was no exception. Life was completely out of my control, isn't it, when you're a child? And a lot of bad things were happening. And I was hoping that somewhere in some corner of that dusty Carnegie Library in Oregon City, Oregon, that I would somehow find the magical elixir that would turn grown-ups into frogs. I never found it. But I did find a lot of information that took me from powerless to powerful. And that power wasn't the ability to turn other people into things that couldn't hurt me. It was turning me into someone who could heal herself. That, my friends, is the power you sense in this season. So somebody asked, one of the patrons asked, I believe it was Zach, if I could talk more about how to dump duality. And I think this is a really good episode to do that in, because it's an important concept to understand, and we're almost all programmed to really over-identify with duality. I'm also going to be talking about what's up in my life, because speaking of change and transformation, I am moving. And I'm sitting in the middle of a wrecked room looking at all my crap. And I don't even own that much stuff compared to most people. And the urge to just toss shit out is really high. And yet I know I'll regret it because I've done it. Remember, wisdom is what you gain from all the dumb stuff you've done in the past. So I know better. And I think today I'll get the car loaded for a drive down to put things in my new place, which is so nice. Oh my gosh, it's so nice. It has a garage. For those of you who don't live in Southern California or in a large urban area, you don't know how nice it is to have a garage. Your own parking. It's amazing. It's a beautiful space. I'll be live streaming cooking once I get set up there. Give me a couple of weeks. As much as I want to do everything right now, it's just going to take time. That's part of life, isn't it? We want things right now, but it's just going to take time. Scorpio, speaking of time, is long game energy. I've talked a lot about how Mars traditionally rules both Aries and Scorpio. And in Aries, it's very quick, it's very impulsive, it's the surprise attack, it's the brute force. And Mars in Scorpio is long game. It is patience, waiting for someone to be their own undoing. That's always fun. And Scorpio energy, at least Scorpio risings, have this love of Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude could be the magic word of the day. It means pleasure at someone else's distress. And it doesn't mean you think it's funny when anybody gets hurt. But if somebody's done you wrong and something unfortunate happens, it is a little delightful to a Scorpio rising, at least this one. Not going to lie, there's a lot of spiritual people who are, oh no, that's not good. I couldn't possibly. And that desire to be virtuous, so you're not seen as bad, is duality. And that is holding you back. It's okay to think it's funny when some jerk who is really mean to you has something unfortunate happen. And I'm not talking about really bad stuff. I'm talking about if somebody cheated on you and then their girlfriend cheats on them or their boyfriend cheats on them. It's funny. Okay, it's funny. You just sit there and you're like, well, how's them apples? It doesn't make you bad. It makes you human. We are not here to not be human. That whole thing of where we roast humanity is the problem. It was controlling you. You think all of these paragons of virtue that pretend to be just so good are actually that good in public? I mean, in private? Think again. Think again. I know oh so well from having met some very, very prominent people who have great public reputations. And in private, I learned that when young. I was subject to that when young. I always say the person who's unkempt and disheveled and maybe had a little rough life is never half as scary to me as someone with slick back hair and shiny shoes. That keeping up with the appearances thing, that scares the hell out of me. That scares the hell out of me. Authority figures who pretend they have the moral advantage, they're the dangerous people because they misuse power. They use the lower energies of Scorpio. The higher energies of Scorpio could be that unhoused person on the street who looks at you and says, hey, I've got a message from God. It's going to be okay today, lady. I've had that happen, and they were always right. So as we move into Scorpio season, this is a chance to peel back more layers on your personal onion. Not the onions that have salmonella right now, just your own personal onion. And as you unwind those layers and get into the root of who you are, you're more able to shine your divine spark of creation. You'll be able to let it flame up. Let it flame up. It's so important to not try to hang on to that. I'm a good kid. I'm not bad like little Johnny, who just got spanked and beaten. And so, wow, in order to be good, that means you don't get spanked and beaten or put in a corner or humiliated. I'm the good one, so I get positive attention because I don't want to get beat. Maybe they weren't beating anybody, but they might beat them emotionally. They might beat them verbally. They might beat them with social ostracization. So I'm going to be good so everybody likes me because it's not safe if people don't. I know. Get out of my head, Lori. Get out of my head. How are you in my head? Well, wouldn't you like to know? Mwahaha. Scorpio season is upon us. How do I get into your head? I have been observing human nature since I was a small child because I didn't understand it and it bothered me. I couldn't understand how people could behave one way in public and another totally different way in private. And I'm not just talking about whether you fart in the bathroom or fart in a room or an elevator. I'm talking about real swings of behavior where people could be all nice and smiles in public and then just abusive as hell in private. And that's not okay. It's not okay. That socialization of where we're only good when people are looking has never sat right with me. And so I wanted to understand it. I remember as a little one, and I've always been observant. People with Scorpio placements or 8th house placements tend to be very observant. They may not speak their observations, but they do observe everything. They miss almost nothing. They may not understand it, but they miss almost nothing, and they'll spend hours and hours trying to figure it out. That's why the 8th house and Scorpio rules psychology, detective work, mysteries, solving puzzles, the arcane, and magic, because magic is all about solving problems, creating solutions. That's what real magic is all about. That's what alchemy is about. It's the great questioning of how do we change this shit into gold. And so as a little one, I remember being in public spaces or parties, with my parents. And I'm talking maybe I was 5 or 6. And watching people have fun. But I was so intuitive and so psychic, I could tell they weren't happy. So these people would, it was the 70s, so people would be drinking. We usually weren't anywhere where people were smoking marijuana because my mom didn't like it. But so people would start to drink, and my parents weren't big drinkers. So my parents usually didn't. But other people would, and they would be laughing, but it was a forced laugh. I knew they weren't happy. And I was like, why are they happy? Why are they laughing if they're not happy? It bothered me. And then I would notice that they would, after a little while, start to show how they really felt, which was sad. And then the next time you saw them when they were sober, they would be apologizing. And I was like, I don't know. I thought it was a lot more rude to pretend you're happy when you're not, because that was confusing. Of course, I never said it. It would have got me in trouble. And so we would go do things like maybe we'd go on a carnival ride or something, and everybody else would be laughing, but it wasn't fun for me. And I would be like, am I supposed to laugh because everybody's laughing? Or am I supposed to be the way I feel, which is terrified? But if I got scared, I got in trouble. And so I, too, learned to force laugh, but I never liked it. So I got really, really quiet and just learned to kind of keep a poker face a lot of the time. Oh, and that's a sadness. A lot of kids learn that, not just Scorpio risings. Because if you don't fit into that, what everybody else is feeling, like if you're not having a good time when everybody else is having a good time, suddenly you're the problem. But what if it's not fun for you? Look to your 5th house for fun. Not everybody has fun the same way. I loved the library. To me, it was so much fun to go to the card catalog, look for 45 minutes for the book I was seeking, and then go find it on the shelf, and then sit down and pour through it to see if it had what I was looking for. Things we can do in moments now on our cell phones. But I have Venus and Gemini in the 8th house. So for me, that research, that going down the rabbit holes, that whole process and experience and the smell of the card catalog and those musty old books, oh my gosh, it was a sensual and sensate experience. But other people thought it was boring. My friends didn't like it. And it didn't make me stop doing it. I just didn't invite the friends who preferred playing with Barbies, which I didn't at all. I learned really young. Fun was different for different people, although I listened a little too much to other people and thought I wasn't very fun at all, even though I found a best friend in the 6th grade who liked libraries just as much as me, and we're still friends. But you see, it's that needing to belong and fit in that we've been programmed, that being afraid to be different. And some of that's a biological program as well. If you didn't fit in, you were a danger. If you were too different, you could attract, if you were too noisy or too much of a problem, you might attract predators in or another. If you weren't careful, you might have attracted the opposing peoples to you. But at the same time, it's okay to be you. Sometimes we do need to not talk so much or demand so much of other people. Maybe we do need to tone it down a little bit, but not all of it. It's kind of a time and place, right? I don't laugh as loud as I can laugh in a library, but I chuckle. I'll laugh as loud as I can laugh at a comedy show. I don't sit there with a poker face. It's time and place, time and place. And the Scorpio season, the greatest mystery you can solve is you, because Mars is going to be in Scorpio during Scorpio season. And that hasn't happened for quite a while. And that's kind of exciting. So we're going to talk about that. It is intense. Not going to lie. Because intensity is the name of the game with Scorpio. But intense doesn't mean bad. Just like I said on the TikTok where I got banned temporarily. If you've had an orgasm, you've experienced intensity. If you've had a peak experience, maybe on a mountaintop or watching a baby or, just the way babies look at the world, wonder, and you catch their wonder. That's intense too. It's just a magnitude of feeling. So on a personal level, this is a great time of personal alchemy. And sometimes it hurts as we grow or shed the layers, but it only hurts because we're resisting it. It only hurts because we're resisting the change. Just like I kind of resisted moving. It's for the best. And my place is amazing. But it's change, and even good change can be stressful. So be gentle on yourselves this Scorpio season. Scorpios can be greatly compassionate people because they understand that change can be painful. They understand pain. They eat it for breakfast, and they sometimes try to avoid it because they know they have to, they will eat it and transmute it. But it's still a lot. But sometimes that a lot is so worth it, and I can guarantee it. I can guarantee you it's worth it. So get ready for alchemy this Scorpio season. Let's talk about what is going to happen on the mundane side in the next segment. Okay. Now, as much as this can be an empowering time as a Scorpio placement, or anybody, honestly, everybody has Scorpio in their chart. Absolutely, freaking everybody. Go to my Patreon, scroll all the way back to December, and you'll find a free post on how to, figure your chart out. It's not how to read the chart, but it's how to know where stuff is. Okay, it's called Introduction to the Natal Chart, or Intro to the Natal Chart. I did it in December. It's 3 videos that helps you identify what's in your chart. So you'll be able to find Scorpio. If you don't have any Scorpio placements, you still have Scorpio in your chart. Make sure you go look at that. Now, on a mundane or mass consciousness level, this means unthinking. It's like geologic events, seismic events, mass consciousness events. Having Mars enter Scorpio on October 30th is kind of exciting because the sun, of course, will be in Scorpio, and having Mars and the sun in its sign is really powerful energy. So the day that Mars enters Scorpio, the sun and Saturn are square, exactly, actually. And the moon is in Leo. This is big energy, guys. That October 30th, we could see some kind of fiery event, some kind of geologic event. I think it's more volcanic action. No, I don't think it's Mount Hood. For all of the people in Discord, we've been talking about Mount Hood. I do not believe Mount Hood will blow this year. This is probably, again, looking at the chart, directionally, I think it's, again, maybe more in the Mediterranean. It could be Asia, South Pacific, those types of things. Venus is still in Sag, but it'll be bold. It'll be some big stuff happening. Maybe there'll definitely be kind of a pushback against women still. It's kind of that last hurrah. Mercury will be moving into square Pluto at that time. So again, there's some intensity. Careful driving on those days. And then, let's see, November. Let's look at it. So November 10th, Mars will be squaring off with Saturn. That's going to be volatile energy as well. I think we'll see secrets revealed. I think we'll see some mysteries solved. I think we're going to see some authority figures get into trouble. And the sun is going to start squaring off with Jupiter at that time. It'll be in an approaching square. So that's going to be some revealing information as well. Maybe we'll hear more about the January 6th stuff. Be aware that we're possibly looking also, actually looking back at October 30th with the moon in Leo and that kind of action. It may be that Queen Elizabeth passes. That's my prediction. I'm just going to say it here. I've been thinking all year she's possibly going to go, and Prince Philip kind of passed away when I thought Queen Elizabeth would. So I don't normally make public predictions like that, but I thought I'd do it here on the podcast. I certainly don't wish that it happens, but it's not uncommon when people are that elderly and they've lost their life partner. For all the foibles and what have you, they were together a really long time. So sometimes it's hard for somebody to keep going when that special person has been in their life. So whatever happens, may she have ease. So that could be happening between October and November, because this is like really big change energy and is rulership change energy. So, and for some reason, some people will be shocked. I mean, the woman's 95. Nobody should be shocked other than, her mom lived to 103, so she could too. I'm not saying it's a given. I'm just saying it's a possibility. Let's see. So that's November 10th as we move further into November, and I'll be doing more astrology. I'm just kind of like looking at the month. You're just getting my thoughts on this. The sun sextiles Pluto on the 17th, and Mars is in direct opposition on the 17th to Uranus. And so I would say probably from the 12th through the 25th, be ready for volatility. I think we could see a financial crash between the 14th and the 19th. This is really similar energy to 1987. So it's not the same, but it's similar. And honestly, it would be, let's see, the moon is in Taurus that day on the 17th. Yeah, so we could see some real financial stuff. We could see volcanoes. We could see seismic as well. They're not going to be super devastating, and even a financial crash won't be as bad as people predict because Uranus is in retrograde motion. So this is like a drop, but it's not a complete like wipeout. So that energy, we'd be glad that Uranus is retrograde, because if it was direct, that's significant. So so between the 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, there's going to be some really powerful stuff going on. So pay attention. Mercury is still at this point, Mercury is now sextile Pluto. So definitely secrets are getting leaked. Definitely there's communications of classified information. We're finding out, we're solving mysteries, we're getting to the bottom of things, and we're looking at corruption. People are going to be very volatile, and there will also be underhanded deals that we're not going to hear about until a lot later as well, and that would be by power brokers. Unless with Mars square Saturn, unless there's whistleblowers. So we'll see what happens. Remember, I'm just talking about trends, and then this is for Scorpio season. Let's look at the very end and see, like right before it switches over to Sag.
We still have Mars in opposition to Uranus, so November is going to be a really volatile month. I think we may see more loss of life in some ways, and don't freak out. I'm talking about meta level. It could be natural events, it could be COVID stuff, it could be the converse. It could be that vaccinations are doing a hell of a job and we're managing to get a handle on COVID. It can go either way. Okay, energy expresses itself in a lot of different ways. So don't freak out when I talk about this stuff. I'm talking in general from an intellectual level. I'm not looking at it as good. I'm not looking at it as bad. I will bring up specific dates just so you can be aware and be prepared, right? The more aware you are, the more range of motion you have to make decisions, not to freak out. So Mercury and Jupiter are square the day the sun moves into Sagittarius. I think that's going to be some pretty gnarly accidents. It could be weather related, and we may see some failing infrastructure. That's not super fun. And we're almost at the time of the nodal change. So Scorpio season is really intense this year. There's going to be some surprises. There's going to be some unearthing of information, some whistleblowing, but also some nasty deals. We're probably going to see some financial instability, some market volatility. And again, this isn't financial advice. It's just my observations, my guesses, my best guesses. They're educated guesses, but again, I'm not a financial person anyway. But it has some of the feelings of 1987. So we may see some currency disruptions. We might see some stock market volatility. I don't think that crypto is going to hit the big numbers. I just don't. I don't think it's going to hit the big numbers until Uranus stations direct. I just don't. And so far, my predictions have been pretty much on. I'm running about 80% on those, which makes me feel pretty good. Because again, I'm not a finance person. I don't even know that much about crypto. I'm just watching the peaks and the valleys, and I've got my own set of calculations. So I think when Uranus stations direct, it will spike and it will have a great bull run. But we'll see what happens. You don't know. I might be wrong. So don't follow my advice word for word on it, okay? I'm not responsible for your trading or your other decisions in life. I'm just telling you what I see. And you always want to use your own judgment. So that's what's up for Scorpio season. Let's do some patron shout-outs. Well, it's time for my favorite part of the show. Patron shout-outs, because my patrons on Patreon make this podcast happen. That way I don't have to seek anything. Let's see. I don't have to go for outside funding. I don't have to deal with sponsorships. I don't have to keep my mouth shut, because that would be hard. We've hit a new record on patrons. We've got 270 of you people. What the heck? So we've got Jennifer, Kayla, Aaron, Liam, Caitlin, Erie, Melania, Zach, Susan, Sarah, Natasha, Angie, Emily, Jennifer, Krista, Alexis. I got two of you. Alexis B, Alexis C, Nicole, Danielle, Rebecca, Sharon, Marissa, Becky, Tara, John, Reg, that's R-E-G, The Magical Misanthropy, Denise, Michael, Jen, Susan, Alyssa, Aaron, It's Grace, L'Oreal, Jacqueline, Rosalie, Jordan, Courtney, and Alexis. Another Alexis. We're full of Alexises. Big shout outs to everyone playing around in the Discord. Big thank you to my moderators, Kathy, Chris, Hannah. You guys are amazing. You guys are amazing. And Casey, of course. Casey was quiet this morning. She's probably still sleeping. So that's why she came to mind last. Nobody is last in my book. So the moderators are amazing. They help me out so much, especially right now when I'm really busy in my real life. Mujen is excited about the Scorpio season. Markle Cloud is a Scorpio. We got birthdays to celebrate. ICTYM, Scorpio Moon Gang. And Denise Knapp is a great participant on the Discord. I love it when people play with us. Nicole Cormier, bragging about an Aries Mercury. We've got people who are godmoms. We've got people playing with their astrology and their pets. We have a ton of threads in this Discord. I just started some kind of more fun thing. So we've got the more fun threads. I'll be more specific. Taurus, Cancer, Cafe, Aries, Gemini's Party Line, Leo, Libra, Libation, Scorpio, Capricorn, Secret Society, Sagittarius, Aquarius, Rebel Headquarters, and Cancer, Virgo, Common Sense. Common Sense Library. And then we've got the Pisces, Taurus, Chill Pad. So these are all sextile combinations. These you don't have to be one of those signs to participate. It's just, it kind of tells you. We're talking about cooking in Taurus, Cancer. Aries, Gemini, super social. Leo, Libra, Libations is, we could talk about cocktails or just having mutual adoration society. And that one is already hopping. Okay. So, there's already people popping in that. Let's see. We've got people, well, they're all popping, but there we go. Yes, you do not have to have those signs. It's just thematic. We're just having fun here. So again, you don't have to have those signs to play. And our news headlines are popping as well. They always are. Let's see what else is going on. We've got the social topic. Medium Carrie Wilson is being applauded again. She's a great medium. If you haven't followed her on TikTok, you should. She's a member of our Patreon as well, Patreon. Anyway, my forever gratitude to you guys, because you help me stay independent and I get to give you the good juicy stuff, and I appreciate your follows all over the place. So let's wind up this podcast with some final thoughts and some information about what's coming up in the next couple of weeks. All right, because I have a lot of other things I have to do, this isn't a very long podcast episode, but I knew you were jonesing for some more. I'm really honored you guys keep asking me for more. I am a content machine. I can talk about stuff forever. So trust me, let me get settled and you'll get so much more from me. So here's what's going on. I'm trying to get moved and my schedule is crazy because, of course, I am booked solid with readings. It's a good problem to have, but it makes it hard to move. So Sunday, I'm working on content, but I'm also using that time to get stuff down because it is going to be torrentially raining on Monday, and it will make it very difficult to get where I need to go. So we are going to do our best to get as much moved between now and Sunday. And a lot of the reason why I want to move happened this morning, so I couldn't load my car and get the hell out. So you got a podcast. Lucky you. So that's that. In the meantime, I am still teaching workshops. I am still doing readings, even though I'm moving. I'm a multitasking maven. And I'm just going to take the time I need to take to move, even though I'd like to be there all done right now. That's probably not going to happen yet. And so what I'm going to ask of you is to bear with me. Things might be a little late here and there. But once I'm settled, my God, all bets are off. We're off to the races. I am teaching these Saturn workshops on October 31st. If you want to make Saturn less scary in your life, these are great classes to take. I have the Saturn Through the Houses, where I'll explain the Saturn and the signs and the house placements. And then Saturn Returns, where you can learn how to prepare for yours and what to do if yours has passed.
and understanding that it's a cycle. It's not just a one-time event, because you get more than one in a lifetime. So you may be done with your first and heading towards your second. You may be on your way to your first, or you may be past your second and on to your third. It's cyclical. So we're going to talk about the cyclical nature of Saturn, the timekeeper, and understanding what karma actually is, and understanding that it's not all about punishment. Okay. So there is that. Then we have the Chiron workshop. We have the Chiron workshop coming up. And if you just go to my website and you look under class astrology, like go to the astrology readings tab and then click classes under that, you will see all of the classes I have. But I'm teaching a Chiron workshop that will help you understand the key to your healing path. And then I've got a walkthrough through the natal chart. Okay, so that'll be an hour-long class where I walk you through all the lines and squiggles, all the glyphs, and help you understand what those mean. That one's a cheap class. Go take it. And I'll be throwing out a discount in the description, so make sure you use it, because I understand budgets are a thing. And then I'm teaching about love and sex in the horoscope in December. Love and sex in the horoscope. So where you find love and where you find sex in the horoscope, and that could be, it's not so much marriage, but we're looking at the spicy side of life. Spiciness. Nothing inappropriate. I promise I won't trigger anybody. Well, I can't promise I won't trigger anybody, but I can promise that I do my best not to. But it's a great place to see what your preferences are. Like, I've figured out how to tell, if you're sapiosexual, or if you're more ace, or if you're more, and believe it or not, Scorpios can be ace too. It's not all about raunchy, kinky, sweaty, passionate sex. It's not all about that. Not at all. Yes, I could do phone sex. I could. And I have, not for money. But not really my avocation. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean you have to do it. Anyway, that's my sense of humor, so go ahead and laugh. Anyway, I'll get everything up in the description. Make sure you check out the classes. Make sure you check out the discount for taking the workshops. And stay tuned. I'll try to live stream as much as I can during this crazy time. I'm probably going to look like a hot mess because I'm tired. But my Libra moon can just shut up about appearances, and the rest of me will be like, hey, take it or leave it. Here I am. Alrighty. Talk soon.